We're now live.
Okay, I'd like to call the Asset Management Committee meeting to order at 9:01. Are there any additions or amendments to the agenda?
Yes, Councillor Florent, one item the fire chief brought to my attention this morning, their desire to speak to the committee regarding potentially acquiring an apparatus for the fire department. Chief Collins should be in attendance somewhere between now and 10 o'clock, and if council could entertain his discussion regarding that at the time he arrives, that would be appreciated.
Okay, we'll just play that one by ear then. With that amendment to the agenda, can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Who was the first one?
Shallow.
Moved by Councillor Shala, seconded by Councillor Harper. With the matters before us this morning, does anybody wish to declare a pecuniary interest? None noted. So the first thing on the agenda is the presentation from Jewel Engineering, the roads needs study. Is Dan Fencott?
I am here, yeah.
Okay, you can go ahead anytime then, Dan.
Okay, thank you for having me, everyone. It's nice to meet virtually, I guess, at least. Dave and I have been working together to prepare the 2022, I guess, road needs study for the township. So Jewel was engaged to complete the study. The process started a little while ago, and it's preferred practice to review the gravel roads in the spring as the frost is coming out of the ground. So we did start the field review last fall and finish it up this spring as the frost was coming out of the ground for the gravel roads. So we did the hard top roads in the fall last year and the gravel surface roads in the spring this year. So we found the roads to be in good shape. I hope everybody's had a chance to review the report. The township has a significant amount of low volume roads, which helps in the assessment of the system. So the low volume roads are roads that aren't necessarily required to be held to a certain standard. They're just cars less, or traffic volumes less than 50 cars a day, and those roads are looked after just with general maintenance rather than being made a priority in any capital program. So they do make up a big portion of the road network and of the cost. The overall cost that we determined based on our inspection was about roughly $20 million, and the low volume roads were about 16 million of that. So otherwise the road network seems to be in good condition. So we did review the gravel roads as frost was coming out just in the spring, and the roads were they're in much better shape now. Dave and I were out to have a look at them recently, and the roads crew was out grading them. So a lot of the potholes and issues that we had noted have already been addressed as far as the spring grading operations go. So but I think generally the roads were in good shape. The township's been doing a good job with some of their with their preservation stuff. We did notice there had been some crack sealing done, and the resurfacing, some of the projects that Dave and I went through that were done recently, resurfacing projects to preserve the condition of the existing roads. So I think generally the roads were found to be in pretty good shape. Common situations. Obviously, there's not a significant amount of hard top roads, but there were situations where the shoulders were a little bit low on some of the hard top surfaces in the rural areas or semi-urban areas. But again, not a lot of instances of that, but some berming on the shoulders, which was being addressed with the grading operations. That's just kind of an ongoing issue as winter sand builds up on the shoulder, kind of preventing proper drainage. But again, that was being addressed with the spring grading. But all in all, I think the roads are in pretty good shape with a minimal amount of money specified or recommended for repairs for the road network. Just trying to get down to it here, somewhere in the range of $3 million, I think, is what we were recommending based on our findings. So all in all, things were in pretty good shape. I don't know if anybody has any questions about the report or the process or our findings.
It's Councillor Florent, the chair. I've reviewed through this file like 3 times now. Every time I look through it, I find more stuff that I don't like.
Okay.
I really like to know how you came about your assessment of the time period needed for repairs on Major Lake Road. It just does, it boggles my mind that you made the conclusion that you have.
Okay, so let's go take a look at Major Lake Road.
And while we're talking about Major Lake Road, maybe explain why you measured the distance backwards from Victoria Lake Road.
Just 1 second, sorry. Okay, so Major Lake Road. So Major Lake Road. So as far as the timing goes, the road review was completed based on an MTO manual, and based on the findings, that manual kind of sets out what those timeframes are. That's based on our findings. So for Major Lake Road, based on what we saw out there, the time frame that was determined was 6 to 10 for the structural adequacy. So it's just based on our findings out there. Is what you feel that it needs work much sooner than that?
I think there's about 3 kilometers that needed work yesterday. And it's in 3 different sections, those 3 kilometers. One resident described the one section to me as having more patch than original asphalt, and he's not very far wrong with that.
So yeah, the surface condition is not necessarily reflective of in this case, the structural adequacy. So for surface condition, for some of them, it's hard. in terms of looking at larger sections, it is difficult to, well, not difficult. Part of the problem in reviewing the roads is that you are looking at larger sections, and when some sections are in very bad shape, it doesn't necessarily mean that the entire road section is. So in the rural areas, it is a bit of a challenge to break down the road sections into lengths, and basically it's done based on intersections or just what's reasonable as far as one construction season and capital budgets for the municipality.
I disagree with that. You've broken 11 and a half kilometers or so into 6 different sections. So you have addressed each section separately, not the whole road as a whole.
Right.
Except for one section of 1.3 kilometers, which you've graded as adequate. The rest of them all are constructed within 6 to 10 years. I think I could have done a better assessment from that sitting in my living room.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly take a look at it. There's certain parameters that are reviewed when we look at these things, and the surface condition itself is not like it in this report. The surface condition has been identified, but even the smaller sections are not necessarily consistent, even if it is a smaller, like 2 kilometer section or 2.5 kilometer section. So,
but there are sections in there that need complete rebuild too, and they've been ignored. We use this assessment as a kind of a rough plan to plan out when we do work or when we apply for grants to do work. And if it's ignored in the report or it's not in the report, it's hard to justify to the government that we need the money to fix it.
it's understandable. Yeah, certainly. I mean, certainly more than happy to review our findings or take a look at them just to see if there is an issue with the reports. Obviously, you guys are familiar with the road network, so there is a prescribed methodology for the reviews, which we followed. So, but certainly happy to review the results.
And okay, I don't want to take up everybody's time. The other thing that I take a little bit of exception to is section number 12, the statement of limitations.
Okay.
Where you say that the report may not be accurate.
The report may not be accurate. In what regard?
Well, I don't know. I took it as regarded as the whole document may not be accurate.
No, it's I guess it's just like in the case, as I mentioned earlier, there has been work on a lot of the roads done since we looked at it. So in terms of what people might see today compared to what we saw when we were out there, it may be different. And there are other aspects. Like what is considered in these costs and reconstruction is all set out in the manual, in the inventory manual. So there may be, the second paragraph is just discussing that there may be other things that need to be considered, and that's common. That the inventory manual was a budgeting tool to determine funding levels. When it was last published in 91, it was used to determine funding levels from the province to municipal government. So when any of these projects are to be undertaken, a detailed design would be done, and additional costs may have to be considered as far as something like property acquisition or issues like that. So it's not intended to say that it's not accurate. I certainly wouldn't take it that way myself, but it's just noting that these are based on observations of the day. As I said, things are maybe different if you went and looked at them today. And a detailed design may identify some additional aspects that weren't considered in the costing that's prepared by the manual.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
Councillor Shala here. I have some. Thanks, Chair.
Go ahead.
I'm a little bit disappointed, quite disappointed to hear that, well, they're gravel roads and maybe there's less than 50 vehicles a day. Many of these roads that you're referring to could be less than 50 vehicles a day. But I think we should be giving it a higher priority or considering it as more important than just gravel roads, and they're okay. I do like the idea of where I noticed that the boulders should be removed before aggregates applied and ditching's required in many places. But getting back to the roads that I'm talking about, we just recently upgraded Allen Lake Road to paved surface. However, there are many roads in that area that people still drive gravel roads. They're branch roads, and they have good vehicles. They pay high taxes, similar to at the end of Major Lake Road to go to Macaulay, and also in Sabine Ward. I believe every one of the roads there, where the cottagers, for them to get to their cottage, they have to travel on a gravel road. And I think the gravel road should have been set to an acceptable, so they're an acceptable level. And if you look at it and you talk about your $4 million for your paved surfaces, you got 3-4 times that much assigned to gravel roads to upgrade them, if I read this correctly. And anyway, I would, why would you think that the gravel roads, and they are quite rough in places, there's minimal gravel, there's boulders sticking up, it's hard for the grader, it's almost impossible for him to do a good job. And if we were to, there may come a time when there are grants available, and if we're going to use this, and I believe it's your words in here that these will be used to apply for grants. This project here, and or the study. So anyway, if that's the case, why are we downgrading them where we should be putting a substantial amount of money into providing a safe travel surface for all of these people? And believe me, cottagers pay a big portion of the taxes around here.
So yeah, I hope everyone understands that it's not me personally or Jewel that's classifying these roads in that manner. Again, it's the manual that's used to complete the assessments. It's an old MTO manual, and that's what is prescribed by that manual. If the township has other level of service requirements, then we can certainly revise to reflect those requirements. But it's I guess the purpose of these, it's not gravel roads, it's just low volume roads that and certainly as far as South Algonquin, there's many long gravel roads that with not a lot of traffic on it. So the cost per user would be quite expensive. That's one of the ways they prioritize roads is based on, you know, value to user, where the dollar spent per user is you know significant, like is a priority, or that's how they prioritize it. So in the case of these gravel roads, if there's only 10 cars traveling down the road, the cost per user is very high, obviously, if they were to do that. So it's just the system prioritizes roads based on, or one of the ways it prioritizes roads is based on value to or cost per user. So the lower volume roads obviously have a higher cost per user, and therefore a lower priority. So it's to the benefit of the municipality, I guess, as far as their level of service requirements. If all the roads were maintained at the same level of service, I think that would be a challenge.
I have a hard time. I'd have a hard time explaining that to the cottage association meeting, because there's possibly less people, but maybe the volume of tax dollars they're putting into the township is extremely high, and also it may look like low volume traffic. However, there are many from the smaller communities, the two communities, that travel these roads for all various recreational reasons, whether it's hunting, fishing, visiting, or whatever. So because there's somebody at the far end of a road, doesn't appear, but it may be that the road is being used a lot. So, and when these wards amalgamated with the former township of Erie, I think they bought in to get an equal service. So I just can't accept that. And anyway, I got a couple other questions. Now, speed limit. I noticed the speed limits on all of these. It was my understanding that if a road wasn't posted, it was 80 kilometers. But I don't know what kind of vehicle. If did you decide that these are the speed limits for these roads?
No, I did not. I did not decide that. The Highway Traffic Act notes that depending on the development, like in undeveloped rural roads, you know, no posted speed unless the municipality has their own bylaw that states otherwise. The Highway Traffic Act says that undeveloped roads are statutory speed limit of 80, and developed roads, unposted developed roads have a statutory speed limit of 50. So no, certainly we did not decide what speed limit there was for each road.
What's your definition of developed or undeveloped?
The Highway Traffic Act does describe that. It does have a definition, so I apologize, I don't have it. It just goes to the density of development. The manual speaks to like this manual speaks to as far as urban roadside environment versus rural. It uses the density of development, and the Highway Traffic Act, I believe, uses the same philosophy, that you know, depending on the density of the development adjacent to the road, then that would determine whether it was considered developed or undeveloped.
Well, I just looked at Madawaska Street, for example, down along the river. It's 50. Thank God it's not 80. But 50 is even too fast. And for some of these roads. And well, anyway, in another one, I believe was Quiac Road, 80 kilometers. Like, there has to be some. I noticed Allen Lake Road, the main road is
60.
it's yes, and really, it's quite developed. It's a great surface, and it's 60. So some of these other ones that if you've drove them personally, holy God, I don't know how you could agree, or I think there should have been a recommendation that these roads be reclassified as far as kilometers, because there has to be some liability at the end if somebody was to drive off one of these corners, either into a river or a lake, Poverty Lake, for example, or there's various places. So I'm just thinking that I was hoping that some of this would have been addressed in this needs study. Now, another question. And speaking of Madawaska Street, you identified a Madawaska lane in this. We don't have any lanes in our township as far as maintaining them.
So that's the small street that cuts from Highway 60 over to.
That's correct. I know where it is, but I'm wondering what the highway signs it as Madawaska Street. You've identified it as Madawaska Lane. The other end of it, coming off of Church Street or Post Street or whatever, I guess it's Post Street, is identifying it as Madawaska Avenue for that short little distance. I'm just wondering why. I think that should be corrected in here. It's part of our road network. There's no lane. If MTO identifies it as the township identified it for years as Madawaska Street, why would you change that to Madawaska Lane?
No, that wasn't done, purposely. If it's named incorrectly, we'll certainly change that. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I think it should be. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Now, was signage to be addressed in this report?
We are, to your earlier comment about the curves and stuff, we are undertaking some curve assessments. We don't have them completed yet, but we are completing that work. Again, to answer your questions, to the geometrics, that's a bit of an undertaking as far as completing the field work to determine inadequate stopping site distances and whatnot. And that work was not completed, but we are completing an analysis, I guess, of the curves. We are working through that process right now for the purpose of providing advisory signage to your concern about the speed.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad to hear that. And when can we expect this report on the recommendation for signage and locations?
It shouldn't take too long. It's a matter of getting out and driving the road. So the conditions in the spring were a little difficult to actually try and drive, to your point, to drive the roads at the speed limit. So, but we will try and get that done, or are trying to get that done as quickly as possible.
Maybe in regards to your statement there, that would tell me if it was difficult to drive at those speed limits, maybe those gravel roads needed a higher assessment of whether they needed to be aggregate applied or not applied. Now,
Richard, can you move along there? You've used
okay,
up a lot of time.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead if you have another
No,
question.
I'll pass. Thanks.
I think as far as determining the speed limits on the roads, I think actually we could do a better job of that within than having a consultant tell us. It's just my own opinion, but does
I
anybody
fully
else
agree.
have any? Does anybody else have any questions of Dan?
Joe,
Counselor-
it's, oh,
Go ahead.
Mayor Dumas.
okay. Thank you, Joe. Just quickly to you, Dan. Thank you for the report that you provided under the guidance of a somewhat ancient document, and that's not a criticism of you. If I understand correctly, this evaluation has been done based on a manual from 1991. So we're using 30 standards of 30 years ago to do a current assessment in a township where, you know, our dollars are very precious to us and we want to apply them properly. What kind of advocacy is going on at the provincial level to get rid of this document and to bring evaluations that municipalities put money into current standards?
I can't really speak to that, but similar to the questions that are being asked by the committee, unless municipalities have their own requirements, have their own standards that can be used to look at these roads, this manual is really the only document that's left that does standardize these reviews. Are they still relevant? I think so. Do they need to be updated? Yes, but every township is unique. So just like any road standards, any of the design manuals produced by the Transportation Association of Canada or the Ministry of Transportation, that's kind of an ideal situation and not possible in a lot of circumstances. So there's lots of municipalities where a 5 meter road with a 0.25 meter shoulder works for them. And that's how they maintain the roads, but this manual would say otherwise. So I think a large part of it is on the municipality to determine what works for them. If they're happy with certain standards and speed limits, there's lots of municipalities that have, bylawed all of their speed limits down so that even if it's not posted, that there's signs as you enter the township that the statutory speed limits are 60 or 50 or whatever. They're lots of different cases for different municipalities, but I think what everyone has to appreciate is the fact that this is a document that was applied to municipalities all across the province. So every municipality is not the same. So in an ideal world, if you're reconstructing it, would you bring it up to the standards of this manual or of any manual or any design guide? I don't know. What is there now as far as surface type and width, et cetera, may work fine for the municipality, for the township. So I'm not aware of anybody upgrading this document. It was an MTO document used, as I mentioned earlier, to determine funding levels, which no longer happens. So MTO, I would expect, has no interest in updating this manual because they obviously don't provide that funding anymore. So it would be fall to some other body to update this manual if that was the case. So it is a challenge for sure, but the idea is to give the municipality some idea of the money that's involved or that they require, and not. It was a funding document. So the nuts and bolts of what has to happen will be addressed when you get to a detailed design process. And certainly now, as I mentioned in the report, the attitude is changed. Preservation type of operations are certainly more prevalent now. People try to look after the good roads and keep them in a good shape rather than going and fixing the worst road and allowing roads that are able to be repaired to fall into disrepair. So I think that depends on the municipality as far as allocating their budget. To fix roads by this standard that don't require it to be fixed is a difficult choice to make. I appreciate the concerns about cottagers and what they bring to the township as far as their contribution as a ratepayer. But choices have to be made as far as what the priorities are. So if the township sees fit to do something other than what's in this manual, then it would be up to them to establish those levels of service and hold themselves accountable to that. If all the roads, all the gravel roads had to be fixed, they would be in a now condition, and the township would be in quite an infrastructure deficit. But it is to the township's benefit to be able to work at the lower volume roads when the situation allows, but not be compelled to fix them. I think most people would see that as a benefit, but as I mentioned, I do understand the concerns of the cottagers and what has to be done. But I guess to answer your question, I'm not aware of any movement to update this document. It is an MTO document that's no longer applicable to MTO, so it would fall to another body to try and update this.
Thank you.
Was that any other questions, Jane?
No, that's fine. Thank you, Joe.
Councillor Bongo, I think you were trying to get in there.
Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the document and the presentation. I just have a very general question, and it is: what is our road network's level of exposure to climate change and extreme weather events? Are there any major areas of concern that we should address to mitigate our climate risk?
I think there is some exposure to climate given the extreme events that we're subject to now. Certainly the intensity of rainfall events is an issue. In the absence of proper drainage, then these rainfall events can cause problems. A lot of it goes to the original construction. If roads that were constructed properly, sometimes it's hard to find those records to see what was done, but certainly the extreme weather poses some threat without having proper drainage, I think is the worst case. Wind and as far as many of the township's road allowances, although they're being logged, and I see that as a great opportunity for the township to pay for their improvements. Some of them are tight, so the ones that do have trees within the road allowance, obviously that poses some problem in extreme wind events. But I think the best that you could do to mitigate those would be to proper construction, following certainly with respect to drainage, making sure that what's prescribed has been accounted for as far as drainage areas and the ability to convey the drainage to an outlet. Yeah, I mean, I think proper construction techniques will mitigate extreme weather as much as can be expected. Would municipalities go over and above what's prescribed by any manual? I think it would have to be a pretty extreme situation to warrant that. Although certainly the weather in the last 15 or 20 years has been a challenge, certainly.
Great, thanks.
Any other comments or questions?
No. No.
Okay, thanks, Dan, for the report, and thanks for giving up your morning to put up with our questions.
Yeah, well, I hope I did answer the questions, and we'll certainly take a look at the issues that were raised, and I'll speak with staff, and we'll see if anything needs to change, and we'll certainly make the adjustments.
Just one final point to further my arguments about the Major Lake Road. That road is a major artery into Algonquin Park for the logging industry, and just rough calculations, there's about 350 ton a day of logs come out of that road during the log haul season, which is starting anytime now until mid-March. So that road takes a lot more pounding than any other road in the township.
Okay, no, certainly that background information is very helpful. The types of vehicles using the road certainly impact what needs to be done. So that's all. That information is good information.
I think we're very lucky that that road has stood up as well as it has, because it's probably 30 years or close to it since the last resurfacing on that road.
Right.
Okay, thanks again, Dan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, committee, we will move on to number 5, the unfinished business. And the first item is the boathouse on the municipal road allowance at the Allen River. And there is a staff report. Brian, are you going to address the staff report?
Tracy prepared the report, so I'll leave her to lead this.
Good morning, everyone. So just a little background. In March 17th at the last asset management meeting, the council had directed staff to prepare the boathouse agreement for the 5 boathouses along the shore road allowance along Allen River. We still have not found the ownership of one of them, and staff has erected a sign on the building in hopes that they will contact the office. So the agreement was circulated within the package, and per section 3A of the agreement, we'll need to establish an annual fee. Currently, staff have proposed an annual fee of $500 with an annual increase per section 3B of the agreement. This fee will cover any administration fees and inspection fees, and the benefit of having the shore road allowance access. There's also initial signing fee to cover the cost of having the agreement drawn up by the township lawyer. I believe I don't know, Brian, if you want to speak in regards to the proposed fee, or we need to have that discussion of what we're going to do, and if there's any other questions or comments in regards to the agreement.
Yeah, I think specifically with regards to the fee, we in some ways grabbed a number out of the air, but we did look at, what would that cost as a land use permit today, knowing where land use permits have gone in the last few years. We've looked at what would it cost, what benefit have you got having a storage facility 12 months a year for your boat. It's something that probably is very desirable amongst our people who have cottage properties that don't have road access to them. And we felt that the number was a reasonable number in accordance with what may have been charged as a tax valuation for the property that's being used, knowing that it's municipal shore road allowance that we're using. Certainly, it's open for discussion at a council level, but we thought we'd start somewhere and put a number out there for council to discuss. Certainly, I know that one of the owners of one of the boathouses has sent out correspondence to council. We had legal provide input. And I continue to maintain that we've taken the time to speak with legal. Legal's assisted in the drafting of the agreement, and as such, I continue to recommend that the agreement be approved for consideration as written by the lawyers.
Okay. Well, I've actually, I've read what they've said. I mean, we're extremely increasing the fee on a percentage basis. They're going from $80 up to $500. On top of that, the recent one from the MNR was $60 or $70.
So I think we don't have anything to do with that MNR LUP. That is directly with MNRF. Like, as Brian said, those fees were based on taxation of the lands adjacent to it that really didn't have anything to do with those lands. And then after investigation, staff had figured it out that they didn't. I believe right now LUPs with MNRF on lands like have camps or anything on them are around the basis of $500. If I don't have one, but I don't know if anybody has one that is familiar with that, but I believe that they're in that range. But again, this is up for discussion. I'm not sure where to go back to that $80 is kind of low in my mind.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. I mean, it should, in my mind, I'm thinking it should basically at least double where it is. I mean, that's a given because, yeah, times have changed. But I mean, these things just all of a sudden came out of nowhere.
And MNRF actually has changed how they determine land use permits. They now take a percentage of the assessed value and they consider 10% of the assessed value. I've noted that because we've also been looking at some of our current expired land use permits. And they're rigid on their numbers. They're not moving. I believe, Councillor Florent, I believe you've got an archery range that's on a property with MNRF, and you can probably speak to what's happened to that in the last 5 years.
Yes, I certainly will. The price has gone up dramatically, the last agreement. And it's in the neighborhood of $600 a year with an additional fee when it has to be rewritten, which is only once every 10 years. So Tracy, in that respect, I don't think there should be an annual cost of living index factored into it at all. I think the agreement should be for 10 years and then an automatic renewal for the 9 and then renegotiate it again after 10. It's a lot less paperwork for everybody, a lot simpler for the lessee. Just send them a bill once a year for 9 years and they pay it. And that's the way the MNR is dealing with the land use permits now. And I think that's a good way to go. It's easier, simpler. The only thing is you only got 1 in 10 years or 1 in 10 chances to bitch about the price, which I've certainly done. I thought that the price was high, and I think this price is high, but I'm not going to really argue that point. My argument a bit is this 9 or 10 page document that we have here. It's full of legalese that a lot of it I have question marks, some of it I have X that they should completely come out. I think it should be a lot simpler. I think some of the terminology is offensive. Like that saying that it's a sole, absolute, and unfettered discretion. Well, if I was the one leasing that land. I'd take offense at that.
Well, and it's like section D that says there shall be no further right to renew during the last renewal term of the agreement. I read that 3 times and I found that kind of arbitrary. I mean,
What number is that?
number 8 under section 18, number D.
Yeah, I have a line drawn through that I'd be taking that out as well. And I'd be changing the terms of where it says sole, absolute and unfettered discretion. I agree with the correspondence we got that a better word would be reasonable. I also don't like section B of number 3. I don't think well, that's the part about the consumer price index.
Price index, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we should be doing that. Like, it's just making more work for us.
Yep.
Section 4, I don't think belongs in there at all. I don't know where we got the 15% from. Is that a standard across the board? Late penalty? I don't know. I'm just asking a question about that.
That's actually the rate that's been established that we charge for any overdue accounts in the municipality as part of the legislative requirement for overdue accounts. So if you don't pay your taxes, that's what you're paying.
Okay, well, that's fine. It makes sense then if we're using it on for other references in the township. Number 7, number 8, number 10, number 11, I have question marks whether they're needed at all. Number 13, the same. I think we can make this a lot simpler. Number 23, I don't like the whole section of it. I
So
think.
what if, sorry, Councillor
Go ahead,
Clark,
Tracy.
what if council has a chance to review it all? Everybody provide us back feedback. Staff will review it, send it back to Tony, and see if we can revise it to make it simpler.
I would also suggest that once we have those comments and formulated and Tony has an opportunity to review them, that we invite Tony back to speak directly to council with respect to the lease agreement.
I don't know if I agree with that. Every time we're having a lawyer here, we're driving the cost up. And it looks like we want to pass the cost along to the.
It's just I'm very hesitant to not take full consideration of the legal advice that's been provided to me, because I don't want to open the municipality to future potential liability needlessly.
Well, I know it's a lease agreement is a little bit different than a land use permit, but the land use permit document is 1.5 pages long. This is 10.
It's Councillor Bongo here. I'm supportive of bringing the legal expert to explain their justification. Like Brian said, we're setting some important precedents here, and I personally I like to know that everything is thorough, and all of the potential problems that may arise in the future, that all of those surprises are taken care of in advance. I think that this is a really good discussion, and I think that we're starting at a very good starting point. And I'm not sure if the resident who sent us the correspondence is listening, but I thank you so much, resident, for sending us your opinion and your perspective on this. It's really our job to think on behalf of the resident, but then also on behalf of the municipality on the whole. And with regards to the increase in the price, even we were talking about the $60 with the MNRF, which has nothing to do with this, of course. I don't think that that's necessarily right either, because that does not really reflect reality and the fact that it's 2022. And I think I think we need to face the reality of the financials, no matter what they look like. And again, just to arrive at the most fair solution to this. Thanks.
For Chair, if you're taking comments, I have one.
Go ahead,
I do
Councillor
too.
Keller.
I feel that I supported this when it came to the table to continue with these leases. However, I don't feel any other taxpayer in the township should have to absorb 1 cent of the cost of the renewal or whatever it costs to get this in place. So whatever costs are involved, they should solely be absorbed by the individuals here. And all of it should be covered, whatever the cost may be, and the hidden costs within. Because when I look at all the other severances, etc., they're all being absorbed by the individual themselves. So I think it's likewise for this lease.
Councillor Collins?
I'm looking at it more from the point of view, some of these people are on fixed income, and yes, they have their boathouse, which is a wonderful storage unit for their boat, etc., etc. But could we maybe offer an olive branch and say we will phase it in 250 this year, but 500 next year, just to make it a little bit less of a bitter pill if they've already budgeted for this year. And I know a lot of people do budget, they remove investment savings, etc. for the year. Just to sort of help out a little bit very short term. And by that time, we should have everything in place. So 250 this year, but 500 for the next 8 years. Just a thought, just something to make this life a little bit easier.
Does anybody else have any comments?
Joe, it's Jane. Could I just make a quick comment? I agree with Councillor Bongo and with Councillor Shala. I know people in the family that have property on lakes. They don't get notice of anything, and prices go up every year. So I think South Algonquin, as Councillor Bongo indicated, you pay for what you have, and it's fair to everybody else. So anyway, I certainly support going forward with this and having the lawyer come as well. So those are my comments. Thank you.
So I'm trying to interpret everybody's comments. Do we want to move ahead with the document as is, or do we want to give our recommendations and have staff revise this document to take in some of those suggestions? Which way are we going?
I'm prepared to.
My thoughts on this is I am not a lawyer, and this has been written by someone who is legally trained and to protect the township. So I tend to agree with Councillor Bongo here. Those bits and pieces that are in there for a reason. We could have the lawyer maybe just explain this to us, but they don't put things in for no reason. They've been put in for a reason. As I say, and I'm not legally trained. He was, and asked to do this on our behalf. So,
Councillor Shala?
Well, the lawyer has to cover his butt too, and he's trying to cover ours. So I can see it both ways. If we had a comment we already had an opportunity to review all this correspondence as it came to us, like we did with the road report, etc. So I guess if people have comments, just do the same. You circulate them back to the staff, and we all could do that, but yet still have the lawyer come to the meeting, and the leasee will pay the cost for that, and that's price of doing business.
Okay, so I guess I invite everybody to make comments on it, send it into staff, and then we will bring it back at the next asset management meeting. I guess it would be distributed to council before the next asset management meeting, and then at that point we could decide whether we need the lawyer's advice or not, or if we're willing to go with it as is. I'm just trying to keep the cost to the taxpayer down of this, because every time we look at it, or every time a lawyer looks at it, or every time staff rewrites it, it costs more money.
The intent with this agreement is that any costs in preparing the agreement will be distributed amongst the owners, the leaseholders of the property. So this is not something that was intended to be against the general tax base.
Yeah,
That's
and
like holding a hammer over the head of the people that were using the boathouses, because either accept it like this or it's going to cost you more money. Go ahead, Councillor Bungle.
thank you. Yeah, definitely, Councillor Florent. I think it's really wise to think of it from that angle. However, at the same time, I think it's really important that we get this right from the beginning. And I think in the long term, that will save us more money if we go for this extra meeting, if we invite the legal expert to directly respond to our questions and our concerns. And I think overall that makes me feel the best. And that way we're putting in our due diligence to make sure that this is done properly. And again, I think it's going to set a precedent for whatever other situation may come up. You know, this whole boathouse situation came up by surprise, and who knows what other surprises await us. And that this procedure that we're applying to this boathouse situation will then set the tone for how we deal with all the other ones. And I'm very happy to go through with that process. So I look forward to the next asset management meeting when we discuss this further.
Okay, so we will do that. We will have it on the agenda again at the next asset management meeting. And meanwhile, send in your recommendations. The only one that I'm hard and fast on is the length of the term. I think it should be a longer term and with an automatic renewal as opposed to renewing it from scratch every year. Everybody okay with that?
And we have like a timeline for council to get their comments back to me, just so I can have everything prepared in time. I know we don't have an asset management meeting set yet, but I just like to have everything in hand, and then I'm ready to forward comments on. Or so say by the middle of June, if you can have your stuff back to me, because I don't think there's another committee meeting until asset management meeting for a bit.
Probably in July, right? It's usually every second month or so.
Yeah, and I don't think we're having committee meetings in the summer, right? In
No, that's
July?
August.
None in August. I know
Not in
that.
August, okay.
Tracy,
Okay.
Joe,
Go
Joe,
ahead.
if I think people should get their comments in like by tomorrow. If you leave it, then we're going to forget what we wanted to say. And you're gracious, Tracy, but I wouldn't give us that much time.
Okay.
And potentially as part of our conjoined meetings, maybe we could put something together as early as our June meeting then, if in fact comments were received by staff at that point.
Okay, we'll give everybody a week to get their comments in, and then staff can get at it and address it sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everybody understand that? Comments within a week.
Yep.
Okay, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, and that's the Gallery and Allen Lake Boat Launch Parking. There's a staff report for that as well.
Again, I'm going to refer over to Tracy as the author. I did have input as we went through this, as well as Dave on the process, and we'll add comments if needed, wherever needed. But certainly the boat launches have been an issue that we need to try and come up with some plans with. And we thought that at the very least, we needed to keep this at forefront and center of council discussion as we sort out going into the long weekend in May.
So council directed staff to focus on major boat launches within the township as they have skyrocketed in popularity, as we've all seen. Gallery Lake and Allen Lake are two main areas of concern, and they're very busy throughout the summer. So we recommend, staff had spoke with Ontario Parks. We tried to come up with a solution on how to fix these two locations. And staff has recommended that in the discussion, we had talked about the snowmobile carpool parking area on Hay Creek Road as being an alternative parking area for vehicles that are visiting Algonquin Park and their overnight users. So with that being said, right now, there's no civic address sign at that location specifically outlining that area. So to make it easier to provide directions to this area in Algonquin Park to advertise, I recommend that maybe we put an additional civic address sign for that location and proper barriers, and we'll have to review it, I think, and see, because the concern that I personally have is that they're going to park at the fire hall and block that area. And that's a concern of mine. And that just might cause even more issues. So I think if we define that space clearly and get people parking there will help. Another issue that has come up is that there's all these local outfitters have rental motorcrafts or watercrafts, sorry, and they are left at the area. And this hinders extra parking, and it causes a lot of congestion in that area. So another recommendation is for staff to write a letter and provide a copy of the use of public docks and launching ramp bylaw that outlines that no boats are to be left overnight and such. And the signing at both boat launches, I feel could be better defined. Parking areas. I know Algonquin Park has offered to design and install some signs at Gallery Lake Boat Launch. So I think working with them and try to come up with a solution. We don't want too many signs. We don't want to pollute the area with signs, but I think if we added some signing, took some signs down, just to better define parking areas for where to park your boat and single cars. Algonquin Park has also offered to put signs up and use another alternative location for the Aylen Lake Boat Launch, and they've advised that they've worked with Dave when they go to erect the signs on the North Aylen Lake Road and the Aylen Lake Road itself, directing staff down that area. Right here.
Sorry, where are you trying to direct them? Up the North Road?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're going, some of them go up there already, apparently. I guess it's quicker to get up into the park than going across the lake. So I think if we push them further up there and put the signs up, then that might help a bit of the area. They say that there's not a lot of people parking at the Aylen Lake Boat Launch from the park, but it may help a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
I also think that could be that boat launch parking area could be better defined as well, and maybe just a little bit more organized in a way that that there won't be so much congestion. I know Dave had put in a report, in one of his reports, he put in a site plan or 2 site plans back, I believe in 2016. And we brought them back just so they're right there and we can look at them, and maybe we can look at them a little deeper and maybe do some modifications if needed to that. So I wonder if there was any discussion, comments in regards to the recommendations. Sorry, John.
I have a question that I'll address to Dave. How would you suggest that we get people to park according to this plan on a gravel parking lot? Like, how would we delineate it?
Sure. So I did this plan in 2016, so I had to revisit my thoughts at the time. We were speaking to the MNRF and renegotiating the MOU at the time. And within that MOU, anytime we change something significantly beyond maintenance, we need to get permission or a work permit. So what I was looking at the time was, how does the topography work without major changes, and what kind of maximum parking can we generate in the space? How we achieve that is another issue. I laid out these lots, working with the land the way it sits, to count them primarily. So basically, it's a potential of about 132 spots. So that would be combined trailer and car parking, just for everyone to have in their mind. When you think about how many water access cottages there are, plus visitors that parking lot can serve, if it was as orderly as it shows on this plan. It's far more disorderly. I doubt we could park half of that many vehicles at present. So ultimately, if we did go ahead with changes, we would have to submit a plan such as this or a modified one to the MNRF for approval. And, you know, anything from gravel with bumper curbs, you know, to a theoretical world where we could pave this. But that's why the plan was laid out like this, was for counting of spaces, looking at space and getting us thinking about, you know, what we can do with that land, with major regrading. And one of the things that really brought to light was the encroachment, you know, on the marina side, because there's some parking and some space to be had back there, other than we will affect that business owners that's kind of using that space right now. So were the thoughts that went on back in 2016.
Does anybody have any comments?
I have a comment. I looked at it, I think it was, I looked at your previous layout and I looked at your present one, if that's the case, or did you prepare them both at the same time? I guess it really doesn't matter, but I actually counted as 154 now and 94 on the red screen, which gave a 50% increase. But I could be wrong by a few. You said 130, but I thought it, I've been wrong before. So anyway, it certainly looks like quite an increase between the two plans. So I thought it'd be a great idea. But I have other comments on the overall boat launch, the total boat launches. I don't know when we want to talk about them, but I certainly do.
Go ahead, Richard.
When I look at the carpool, and we did discuss between First and Second Avenue also at a previous meeting of developing parking there. I think it's great. However, the township should be proud of their infrastructure, and we should sign it for the public use, regardless of whether the user is public dock or he's a resident or he's a visitor, or it's water access to a few cottages on Gay Larry Lake, or it's access to Algonquin. And as far as outfitting and canoes, I do see a location there that's been, since I've been, as long as I can remember, living in Whitney, people always dropped off canoes there for pickup and delivery. And you know what? We have an outfitter who's been in our community for 75 years or plus. And if there should be a designated area there, generally where they drop the canoe off right at the present time for pickup or delivery or for use, whether they're coming or going. But if it's signed and it's that location along by the concrete wall or wherever we had decided to put it, but we should, because if you look at the whole outfitting and the whole business of it within our township, outfitting, they hire a lot of people. They bring a lot of money to our area. And also there's many canoe trips that start in the park and are dropped off by children's camps around Ontario. And actually, even from the States, they come up here, they start at Rock Lake, they canoe to Whitney or wherever, or maybe start at Smoke Lake and do the same. And they drop those canoes off. The following week or whenever, or a little bit later, there's new people, or there might even be when the bus is coming to pick up the children from the first drop off at one of these locations. And then the canoes then there's permits and they paddle backwards to either Smoke or Canoe or Rock Lake or somewhere up in the park again. So there is a big demand for those drop off or staging areas. And of an outfitter, it just isn't possible for an outfitter to be able to do individual on the spur of the moment drop-offs at various locations, whether it's at Eastgate, or maybe they're traveling to Shell Lake and going to Algonquin Park and some other location. We definitely need these, and we have these, and Dave is well aware of them, where we have them in where they're allowed to drop those canoes off in Algonquin. So I just think that there's a big demand and a necessity for such for a location, but it should be signed as such. And also, when as far as the parking, I think all of the signs at those sites, regardless of who's using them, they should be Township of South Algonquin signs. We want the people to come here. We should give them the information. As far as the park, you know what? I think we're proud people here, and we want to show the people we're organized, we have a location. If the location isn't right at the dock for you, here's a sign pointing you to Hay Creek Road, or also, and to go with that, we should have communication with the outfitters. A handout be prepared, whether it's prepared in conjunction with our township, that also all of the people that get a reservation in the park for a particular area like Gay Larry Lake, they're told where to go and where to park. They get a handout that comes with their permit, and the same with the outfitter. The outfitter that's renting for the day, and there's much rental, daily rentals. When they bring somebody, or somebody goes, and they're supposed to pick up their canoe at Gale Area Boat Launch, they got this handout when they pay, and this is where you park. And I think, you know what, if we just work together, it'll work. And also canoes are not generally tied at those docks. And it's so important that the message get to Algonquin Park and get to the outfitters, because there's nothing that upsets someone going with a boat and motor and trying to launch that boat and motor when there's a couple of canoes sitting there, and even some of them want to sit in the canoe and have their lunch, and you're trying to launch a boat. And that's happened to me. It's a problem in Algonquin also, where the canoe people want to get in that boat slip, and they shouldn't. We should be given the information on the handout or at the water's edge, and there's a good spot for them to launch that canoe just to the left of the dock as they approach it. It's all a nice sand beach there. So anyway, it's all about providing the information, educating the public. Now, and that can work. As far as long-term or overnight, boats should only be docked or secured during the loading and unloading process. Like, I don't know how, I know there's a lot of docking area, and I'm jumping back and forth here, but there's a lot of people at Ale Lake boat access. I don't know how they deal with going to town for groceries and then coming back and where they hold that boat. But if it would only take a few that would take all, tie up all the dock for the next person that might either want to come in or want to come down the lake. So, but whatever way, and in number 2 of this, your information that Tracy printed there, it should be long-term or overnight. I'd say those boats should only be docked or secured to the dock while they're loading or unloading. Now, I don't know. That's my thoughts, and if it makes any sense, or if you have any questions, but I think it can all, believe me, I think it can all work out very well. It's just communicating between these various people, and we provide the signage. Thanks.
Mayor Dumas?
Excuse me. I agree with what Richard has said in regards to the pamphlet, about keeping the area at the boat launch open. And what I've seen in the past, Richard, is when being at the Whitney Beach and seeing the camps coming down the lake, and quite often they stop at the Whitney Beach and have a snack there and use the facilities and then time themselves to be down at the dock to get out and to get away from the area. So maybe, if we have such a pamphlet, that suggestion could be made too, that they, have that rest stop at the beach and then continue down and offload at the boat launch.
They
Thank
also used to park, Mayor, maybe you noticed, a lot of times Pathfinder and different ones would come right to the cenotaph. They'd come down
Yes.
through the, I've
Yeah.
often seen them there, quite often, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Councillor Bongo?
Thank you. Thank you, staff, for providing this report. I think it's excellent, and I think that the residents will really appreciate it as well. I fully support all of the recommendations in that first section of the report under recommendations. I think that enacting all of those actions would be great. I respectfully disagree with Councillor Shala. I think that if Algonquin Provincial Park, if Ontario Parks has agreed to create these signs, then I think it would be the wisest thing to allow them to make those signs. It's a cost saving for us. And then of course the canoe campers, they are already accustomed to the Ontario Parks branding, and they're going to be looking for the Ontario Parks directions. And if Ontario Parks is saying, hey, you canoe campers, park overnight over at this carpool located over here at this civic address, I think that that's very powerful and very effective communication, in my opinion. So I don't think that we should redo this and tell Ontario Parks, oh, actually, we want to make the signs ourselves. No, I think that them making the signs, I think that that's fantastic. In fact, I think we're lucky that they're even offering to do that in the first place. And I have a couple questions. Number one, with the civic address being created for the carpool, which I think is a fantastic idea, by the way, what is the timeline on that? Is that something that takes half a year or a year? And my other question was, there was some mention about an agreement in the alternatives. So, I mean, do we, at this point in time with Ontario Parks, do we have a verbal friendly agreement at the moment? And is the idea that maybe after this season, when we have time, we actually create an agreement in writing? Thanks.
Thanks, Mongo. Yeah, the sign won't take long. It'll take probably a month at tops by the time I have get it ordered and in and everything. I have other signs I have to order. So in regards to the agreement, I thank you for bringing that up. I think it is important. Right now, it's just a verbal friendly agreement. I think it's important that we enter in an agreement with them or entertain the idea of an agreement with Ontario Parks, because it is a problem, and the problem is it's not it's an Algonquin Park problem, but it's our township problem. So we're helping solve a problem that's created by Algonquin Park. So I think an agreement to be established between Algonquin Park and us would be, I think it's good. And then that way it can be, you're going to tell your campers to park at the alternative location. You're going to go down to North Alien Lake Road when you're on Alien Lake. That needs to be established. It's just something that staff feel that it's going to be important. Nothing has been outlined yet. It's just something that's in the back of our minds that we feel that's important.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So now the mention of the agreement was listed in the alternative actions, but will it by default be included in our main recommended actions?
Oh, yeah, like if council wants us to start to pursue that immediately, we can absolutely do that. I think I feel that this is a trial. It's going to be a trial basis to see whether this parking will work. I know Hay Creek Road is being redone next year, and whether we're going to expand that for parking is, something else that we'll have to discuss later on. So to me, this is a temporary solution. Whether it's going to solve it, I don't know. But I think we could at least try until some sort of agreement can be done, or a boat launch design and operations plan can be determined as well. That's another alternative.
Yeah, super. No, you raised a great point. Yeah, and like I said earlier in my comments, I strongly recommend to all the committee members that we support the recommended actions that are spelled out in the recommendation section of this report. And like Tracy said just now, I think that through these initial first steps, after accomplishing these first steps, and in the background, if an agreement in writing with Ontario Parks is created, and further to that, perhaps maybe some sort of overall boat improvement plan, that would be incredibly fantastic. So that would be extremely ideal. And so, and like you said, Tracy, I'm very aware that these are very first steps kind of actions. We're not going to solve this problem immediately this year, and we will likely still encounter some issues with congestion. However, I think that these first steps are so crucial, and I really do think that the residents will appreciate it as well. So thanks.
I think there's two separate signage issues. Richard has a point and Bongo has a point. The sign, we should accept the signage that Algonquin Park has offered, but that has a lot more to do with parking. And Richard's idea of signage designating an area for the canoes at the boat launch is a little bit separate. And I think we should be doing that and passing that on to the outfitters, the people that are supplying the canoes, which isn't specifically Algonquin Park, but it's contractors within Algonquin Park.
I agree, Councillor Florent, because I feel that Algonquin Park users are going to come in, they're going to see the Algonquin Park sign, and it's going to say park excess vehicles over at whatever, it'll be like 48 or whatever, Hay Creek Road. And then it's going to be defined. They have Algonquin Park in their mind. They're going to see it. And then we'll have township signs as well up with the designated, with the boats, trailers park over here, cars park here. Here's where you launch your boat or launch your canoe. The overnight and the use of the docks is outlined in the bylaw as well. And it's to get that out there. It's going to have to be reviewed to see what we can do to put out there. Because I know, as Councillor Shala indicated, that the launching ramp gets occupied all the time by canoes, and then it hinders the boats from being launched. So that is another issue. But I think there may even be signs there now is to dock your boat and move on, but it happens. Some people don't see signs.
That's correct. So
It's a big problem at the Aylen Lake launch, let me tell you.
yes. So does staff have enough information to move on with this?
What I got out of that was to continue with the recommendations. And then Councillor Bongo had brought up that we should start pursuing an agreement with Ontario Parks. Is that something that should be pursued immediately, or do we review this after the summer? What's the recommendation there?
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Go ahead, Richard.
Tracy, I agree with agreements when agreements are necessary, but you know what? When we're working with our neighbors, we should work with them face to face, meet with them in the office up there. I'm sure if you meet with the district manager or park superintendent, whoever's there, and I'm sure that your handouts can get prepared immediately. They can get typed up, they can be circulated. You can do a lot of that verbally. And
so I guess my question is who's responsible for doing the handouts? Is this something that's we're going to request from Ontario Parks, or are staff doing that?
I would say that you could discuss it with them, how they want it to go, and the same you could discuss with the outfitters, or you could prepare one and circulate it around, and we could get back to you immediately. It should be something that's quite simple, and all it does is it just gives good information, and they take it with them. But the park is going to have to coordinate that with the reservation system,
and they're working on that. Yeah, they're working on that.
The sooner they do that, because a lot of that permit comes directly from, as my understanding now, there's not as much in the office contact as there used to be, especially since COVID. So Anyway, it's just the quickest, simplest solution. What do you do when you get here type of thing, you know? Where do you park? Where do you launch your canoe? You show a picture of the boat launch. You show this little side, sand beach to the side of the boat launch, and why you do not want people in the boat slip. They just shouldn't be there. And you know what? Maybe I'm getting off topic, but there's been people, local people, that have shoved the canoes right out in the lake that were stuck in the boat launch at Opeongo. So, because it just gets so frustrating if you're trying to speed up everything and that person's got that boat, that canoe sitting in the middle with a pack in it, and they're gone walking their car over to towards the fire hall. Like, no, this is so important that we show them where they must launch and why they must launch over there. And that can be done. And if you want to prepare it, I'd help you with it.
The problem being is that everything is done online now, so they don't even go half the time to any of the outfitters to receive a pamphlet. So I know in conversations, and we've met with Ontario Parks, that they are going to put it on their reservation systems, or they were going to try to put it on their reservation systems. They're just waiting for us to proceed further. I mean, we have good rapport with John and Ann. So we're working with them, and I just don't know about the pamphlet. We'll sit down and we'll try to figure that out, and I'll work with Ontario Parks to see what they suggest.
Okay. And if you want my ideas, I'll come in the office and meet with you.
Sounds good.
Well, I got a question.
Go ahead.
I mean, one of the recommendations is we use some more signage at, even the Allen Lake boat launch, but I mean, we still got to come up with a long-term solution. We keep putting Band-Aids on this, and this has been going on for 20 years. We definitely got to come up with an operations plan as soon as possible. Because I mean, I remember Dave doing those drawings, and we talked about it extensively. I thought it was a great idea and a great way to do things. And I noticed down in the boat launch area, Dave, I don't know if you've seen it, but there seems to be a little pile of those cement parking dividers in a pile down there.
Yeah, we removed them for the winter time, and so we could grade, and they've disintegrated. I need to order more.
Oh, okay.
And by the time we got down there, there was already about 10 cars parked there. I'm sensitive down there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Councillor.
Go ahead.
Going back to the agreement, I believe agreement is important. If I leave, Brian leaves, Ontario Park staff leave, it's a clearly defined document that someone can go there and look and say, this is what they agreed to, this is what we're going to do. I think verbal is great. It was good in the past, but now that moving forward, I think clearly defined written agreement between Ontario Parks and what they expect of us, what we expect of them, is important.
Regarding the Allen Lake parking lot, I think we have to get the word out that is in fact a parking lot and not a long-term storage facility for boat trailers, which it ends up being. Now, some of them, I think some of them are actually from people that have driver access, like road access, and they park their trailer there for the summer to get it out of the way. I'm just assuming that, maybe I'm wrong, but we have to pursue again that old dump site as a parking area for long-term boat trailer storage. In fact, there was some of them trailers and a couple boats stayed there all winter.
Yep.
I would assume that they're abandoned. If they're there and there's snow on the ground, to me, they're abandoned and we should be removing them.
Yeah, there's definitely.
Didn't we discuss?
Councillor Bongo has the floor first.
I'm sorry.
Councillor Shallow.
No worries, thank you. Yeah, there's definitely, I think that the Allen Lake boat launch can definitely benefit from, we've been very abstractly discussing this idea of an overall boat launch operational plan. And Councillor Rodnick says as soon as possible would be great. whatever works in the staff schedule, especially based on how things go this year, would be awesome. And then we were talking about this agreement. I think an agreement in writing is the absolute wisest thing to do. Like Tracy just said, the Ontario Parks positions change every council term. There's a new superintendent, it seems. And so the power of a written agreement is that that it will apply to, doesn't matter who's in that new position. So I respectfully disagree with Councillor Shala that just a verbal handshake is enough. I think we do need to work towards creating a written agreement. And as I said about this hypothetical boat launch operational plan, for that to be created on a schedule that works with staff, maybe based on how things go this year. And as long as we keep on bringing it back to these committee meetings. I did have a question. And pamphlets. I don't think that we should promote the creation of pamphlets. Like Tracy said, all of the reservation stuff is done online. Campers do not even get a piece of paper reservation. They don't. 100% of all of the camping reservations are done online. And I think when they get their online reservation in their email, that's where our little blurb about where to park, all of those parking directions, that's where ideally that information should be made available. And I did have one last question, and that was, I do support reaching out to the outfitters. And as the report says, we want to support our local businesses 100%. But at the same time, we have identified that the pile of canoes and kayaks by the concrete wall at the Galleri Lake boat launch has been getting in the way. And what happens if those canoes get stolen or broken or vandalized? Who's liable if that were to happen as well? So I am supportive of us beginning a formal conversation with the outfitters with the idea that we want to improve the user experience at the Galleri Lake boat launch. So my question for Tracy is, what is the plan for the content of the letter? And are we approaching the outfitters with a solution? If you could just tell us what the general plan was with that communication.
I think that the outfitters need to understand that there is congestion there and that their canoes and stuff are congesting the area. And I was thinking as when you and you were talking that there is no room for anybody to go over the wall, the barrier there to go to the side of the dock, because there's always canoes piled there. You can't reach there. So that's why they're going in the launching area. So maybe they have some sort of solution. Maybe they have a canoe rack that we can put there just to start the conversation with them and say we need to find a solution to fix this area. We want you to use it. However, we need some organization. I think a copy of the bylaw should be distributed as well to them, because there is at times some motorboats that's left overnight. But again, I think we're going to have to look at that bylaw to see if that's going to exclude them, because technically you're not supposed to leave them overnight in the area, but they're on the land, so or on the side, so we'll have to look at that. I think just to get the conversation started, and if they can keep just the minimum amount down there at the time, because sometimes you go down there and they've got quite a few there that I'm sure that they don't need them all at the time. That's about what I was thinking, Bongo.
That's awesome. That summary that you just gave there, I think, is the correct approach. Starting that formal conversation with a collaborative tone of overall improvement for the user, for the visitor, for the ratepayer. I think that's fantastic. Thanks.
Okay, if we can move on, Tracy, I think you have enough comments and suggestions to proceed. Do you have any questions of council before we move on?
No, I will go with the recommendations that was in the report, and then we'll discuss further at later in the date and about the an agreement and a plan for the boat launches. It's always going to be in the works. I feel it's going to be a trial and error this summer. So.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
Tracy,
Go ahead.
you may mention the fact that the MNR is using Galleri Lake Dock as a aircraft area. landing area. You see them quite often down there in the weekdays, bringing their turbo beaver in and docking at our launching ramp.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, go
Chris.
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, before we move on to the last item under unfinished business, Chief Collins has joined us, so we will deviate from the agenda to accommodate his presentation, I guess.
Yes, yeah, thank you. Good morning, Council. I appeared before you this morning very, very hurriedly because circumstances have dictated that I don't have time to submit a report to you. It was brought to my attention last night at the Whitney Fire Hall by the senior management team there that there is a vehicle, a fire pumper, that has become available on an auction site. The auction site, the bidding actually finishes on Monday at 9 o'clock in the morning. The team were very excited to look at this vehicle because it seems to meet all of their criteria and meets our township criteria. Unfortunately, there wasn't time to prepare you any information, so everything I have to give you this morning will be verbal. It's a 2005 Chevy mini pumper, slightly bigger than the one already at Madawaska. This is based on a 550 chassis as opposed to the 450 that's a Madawaska. Because it's 2005, our township, or all townships, are notionally supposed to comply with the NFPA codes with regard to the age of our frontline appliance. The frontline appliance should be less than 20 years old. This vehicle technically would still have a 3-year lifespan to comply with that less than 20 phase. It only came out of service from the Ottawa Fire Service in April of this year, and up till then it had been regularly serviced and maintained. There is no known defects on it. Everything is operational. Unfortunately, the bidding process forbids any form of inspection prior to bidding for it. The other great thing about the vehicle is that currently the opening bids are at $7,000. That's basically, I'm coming before you to ask if I can proceed and enter into the bidding process. And secondly, and most importantly, do you wish to put, if you give me permission in the first question, do you wish to put a cap on the amount that I can take the bidding up to, bearing in mind we have just been able to sell a surplus vehicle and we theoretically have cash in the bank. By having a mini pumper such as this at Whitney, Whitney would then both have a city-style large pumper and a mini pumper, giving us flexibility for attending all kinds of scenes as we do at Madawaska. So basically, I think that's everything I have to tell you about the machine at the moment, and I would like to open the floor up to questions.
Any questions?
What do you expect this is?
Councillor Bongo?
Okay, yeah, thank you. My main question is for Brian, actually. I know that we passed a procurement policy, so I would refer to that, and just to make sure that this request falls under the parameter of what the procurement procedure needs to be. Based on this verbal presentation, it sounds like it's an asset that fits in with our program here. It would fill a need that the Whitney Fire Hall needs. Would we need, I mean, seeing as how the bidding ends on Monday, do we need to have a special meeting to authorize this, or is this something that we can simply decide here in this meeting? Thanks.
So subject to, we have looked at the procurement bylaw. We can, because of the nature of the equipment we're purchasing, we don't have the same need to be going out. And this isn't a new piece, it's a used piece of equipment, which also changes some of the rules in our procurement bylaw. But certainly under that, I've got an authority of 10,000 outside of the budget. So it's possibly outside of my budgetary abilities to authorize. Therefore, we want to come to committee, get committee direction. We would bring a formal resolution to council should we be successful at our meeting on June 2nd. The only thing I was unsure of when I reviewed the specification of the vehicle was whether the condition of the pump associated with it, and it might be something that staff may want to look into with the Ottawa Fire Department. So we know whether or not we need to invest $20,000 for a new pump on top of the purchase price of the vehicle.
To answer that, under a list of conditions, it just says current conditions starts and runs, and then further down it asks, they have to ask whether there are any known issues, and they say none, and any recent major repairs in the last 12 months, none. There are notable dinks, scratches, and some rust marks on it, but other than that, annual inspection was completed, yes, while it was in service. It was withdrawn from service in April of this year, and also the regular maintenance was complied with. That's all I know at the moment.
Sounds good.
Is everybody in agreement that we allow Chief some latitude, I guess is the right word, to go after this? And if yes, do we have a ceiling? And what?
Chair.
Go ahead, Richard.
I guess your senior management team you referred to at the meeting, some of those guys are mechanics, is my understanding. So
Yes.
they would have an idea of what the vehicle is worth, and that was going to be my question earlier. Like, I don't know what it's worth, but I'm just wondering if somebody at the table or around the table last night had an idea of what value this is. It's a good value, or for what you expect that you might have to pay, and what would you expect you have to pay?
The only way I can answer that, Councillor Charlotte, is that the two people that brought to me have experience of commercial vehicles, and they were both incredibly excited that this appeared to be a really good buy for a price and filled the needs of our township.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm assuming that you're saying, but I guess what I'm getting at is, and I appreciate those guys and their knowledge, but the point is, what are you coming to the table with to expect to spend on it? That's, I guess, what we have to agree as a council to allow you to put a bid in with. I don't know, it's a pig in the bag, or you tell me. I have no idea what you expect to, if we're going to give you authorization, what authorization are you looking for? Like, how many dollars?
As I said, opening bid is 7,000. How much the vehicle is actually worth and what the bids will go to at the moment, I have absolutely no idea. As I say, we would be achieving a fire apparatus with a theoretical shelf life of another 3 years to keep us within the certification, and I believe within our insurance remits of having a frontline machine. And I see no reason why the machine can't continue long after the 3 years. We remove it to like a reserve line with a future purchase of a new frontline vehicle. How much the vehicle is worth, I honestly don't know either. We're all standing in the...
Did the people at your meeting, the individuals at your meeting, have an idea? They must have had it. You must have talked about what you might be plan on paying for it, or what you would be prepared to pay.
No, they just thought it was an incredibly good value and that we should bid on it. There was no suggestion as to how much it was worth and what sort of limit we should go to.
Okay, thanks.
It has to be bid in increments of $100. That's the only specs that I've seen on it.
Yes.
So you don't just submit one price and hope that does it. I think it's an incremental bid. So you could, as long as you're revisit the site, you can put a new price in every time.
Correct. Yeah. The bids will go up in $100 increments. And
so it's like it's not like a 10, you don't submit a fixed amount. You're going to bid online then?
Correct. It's a bidding online only process. You can't even go and see the vehicle.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. See, I missed, maybe I didn't understand. I thought you had to just submit a fixed amount
No, it's an online auction. in
Okay,
bids
so-
of $100 increments.
Okay, well then you're saying it's a good value, but you have to, somebody has to know what a good value is up to so much money, and then after that it's questionable. Am I not, do you understand what I'm getting at?
Yes, but I don't know how in the short term with your meeting this morning and the auction closing on Monday, how that could be achieved.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
I would say if we're guaranteed 3 years, easily worth $10,000 a year, I would suggest that we give them an allowance of $30,000 to bid on this and see what happens.
Well,
That sounds reasonable to me.
Unreasonable?
Yes.
Absolutely. I think probably the pump on it, if we had to go buy a pump, it'd probably be $20,000 for a pump. So,
I was told 30,000, a replacement pump's 30,000
yeah, so.
for a vehicle of this size.
And we know that vehicles today are significantly overvalued. So certainly, I think that the 30,000 would be more than reasonable. And it's still well within the 53,000 for which we just sold one of the fire department's vehicles for.
Yes.
So we still do have a surplus amount that's there to go back towards reserves on the next vehicle. And I would hope that, you know, we might get lucky and be one of the only bidders, or maybe the only bidder. And, you know, and I think it's the 24th, so that would be Tuesday morning at 9
Or was
a.m.
it Tuesday? I thought it was Monday. Sorry, yeah.
I would hope that, you know, at 8:59, when we push a final price, that we would be the ones that would get it at a lesser value, just because it would be really nice to save some money if we can.
Yes. And also
Now
the
we're-
other thing is the whole also suggesting that if we were able to achieve this pumper, then in actual fact, that we would then, once it was brought into service, we'd actually make the old Ford 350 at Whitney then surplus and sell that as soon as we could and recoup some money from that. I'm not saying the two are going to match, but there is a lot of value in vintage fire appliances.
My feeling on this is like with the money that we got from selling the half ton that we didn't require, or the pickup truck rather, that we didn't require, if we could get this unit for under $30,000, that we would have another $25,000 to put towards a pump in a couple of years that would give us another 20 years on the truck.
yeah, I agree.
That's exactly what I was getting at. I just wasn't getting the answer. Anyway, thank you.
Anybody disagree with me?
No.
No, so I guess you got okay for up to $30,000.
Thank you very much, Council. Keep
Good
your
luck.
fingers crossed, folks.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Okay, we can go back to our agenda, and the next item on the agenda is 105 Maple Drive. There's a staff report included on that.
So 105 Maple's been around, I believe now for going on 9 or 10 years. We haven't come to any definitive conclusion with it. Every year it comes back. I think last fall, council was given gave staff direction of up to an upset limit, that we would provide payment in that amount to the person, to the end owner, if in fact they wanted to go proceed. Last year, it was late in the year, they didn't proceed. And we said that we would have the work, we would have the contractor, if they wanted to wait, have the contractor while they were here doing work for us, undertake those works. Well, I think that COVID has resulted in some real changes, as we've all seen at the fuel pumps. It may have made some major adjustments. I have not yet seen the oil indexes, which would be related to the paving activity, to be able to determine whether or not we're sitting at $100 a ton, or whether we're sitting at $400 a ton. And our geographic location adds challenges to it as well. Although this activity is probably better undertaken by a driveway paving type operation and by the municipal paving operation. And I'm not certain that even our contractor coming in to do some paving for us, once it's been awarded, would in fact have that equipment with them, or whether it would be a special trip anyways. But I would suggest that we get a cost from that contractor, whoever the successful bidder is, that we connect them to the property owner, that we offer and make payment for full value of what that contractor said they would undertake, the 48 cubic meters for which we feel needs to be undertaken. Then if the owner wants to do 60 meters or 70 square meters, or they don't want to do anything, they've gotten their money. We no longer have this coming back to the table. And we've also mitigated any liabilities that may be there because of changes in drainage or slopes or elevations that have occurred as a result of anything the property owner may have done on their own property. So I think the simplest solution is to find out what it's going to cost, pay them whatever that is this year based on a quote we get from our own contractor, and then have the property owner negotiate with either the contractor that we have, or they can call whomever they'd like, but that's all they're getting is there's the money that we've got, and it's done.
Yeah.
Super. Yeah. Thank you so much for this report, Brian. This resident lives in my ward, so I have been communicating with them. And I think that the recommendation here is very good. And if this were to happen this year, then we would be able to put a bookend to this historical situation, and then we would be able to move forward happily in the future. Thanks.
I would like to add to that. I think, agreeing with you, Councillor Bongo, we need to get this sorted. And I think we need to tell the resident that there is a time frame attached to this. I think we need to be able to draw the line underneath this and actually get this rectified and ratified and off the table and done. Would it be unreasonable to say you have till the end of the year? Otherwise, this is not going to continue next year and the year after, et cetera, et cetera. Is that a reasonable thing to tell them or to ask them?
Sure.
Yes, I think the sooner the better, and I think staff would like to get it off the plate as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, are we okay on that? That staff has direction to move ahead with as recommended?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to new business then. And the first item is the Works Department operational report.
Councillor Thorne, Drumis, Council. I'll just start off by letting you know that load restrictions were actually removed on the 13th. We've been talking to Madawaska Valley. They were going to lift them on the 16th, but the weather was exceptionally warm, so some people were happy to see that. The winter sand sweeping operations were completed in the time frame in the report. Too many major issues with that. I'd just like to move on to the annual dust control contract. And we're starting to see the effect of high diesel fuel prices in a couple of areas. And this is certainly one of them. We've seen 18% increase in the cost of our liquid calcium this year above the 5-year average. That equates to somewhere in the order of $8,000 plus. And it is, well, we don't know, I guess we don't know where it's going to go in the future. So we'll be taking it into account during next year's budget process. If you recall, last year, we had torrential rains that didn't quit, and we were unable to finish putting down the calcium. So I think we reserved something in the order of about $20,000 to reserves in that area. We obviously have to go ahead with the contract. So we're going to monitor departmental budget totals and see if it can be absorbed through cost saving elsewhere. but it may come back to some need for reserve funds, which we'll bring to a council meeting in the future. Just while I'm on that, our plan, we finished the first full round of grading, and our plan is to do a little bit of maintenance on the grader, and then weather permitting, get out and start the second round of grading, which will include the application of liquid calcium. Again, trying to get ahead of that July 1st long weekend. One new addition this year has been the water tanker, the slide-in water tanker. So during this extreme dusty period we just went through, we were able to run that water tanker ahead of the grader, and it really helped to keep that machine moving. Where in the past, we would have had to stop and wait for a bit of rain because you couldn't see his blade from the dust. So we also hope to, we'll use that again during the grading and the calcium application to get a little more value out of that liquid calcium this year. So that's where that kind of combines a couple of items. And just going back to what was discussed during Dan Vencott's presentation, the sign inventory is underway. We don't anticipate it's going to take too long to get back. So that sign inventory, they're driving to get some geometrics information in the curves. So they get what that comes up with is an advisory speed limit reduction through curvy sections, or it could be sightline issues. So we would see some where you have maybe that 80-kilometer speed limit, a suggested 50 in a yellow sign advisory to to slow down because there's curves coming. Part and parcel with it is going to be a collecting of our inventory with GPS coordinates that can be transferred to our CGIS system. So the idea is that in the future, when we're doing road patrol with our updated software, we will know where a sign goes and when it's missing. It becomes important when we're signing roads for speed limits such as Elm Lake Road, which is assigned 60, that there's a prescribed spacing for those signs, and that we know when they're gone and they're put back in the right place. The other thing they include in that is a reflectivity assessment to make sure that our signs are meeting the reflectivity requirements, which is a provincial mandate. We probably have some to replace after that assessment. Just going to move on into environmental services. Again, we've seen an impact on our annual contract that we do to shred our construction and demolition waste. That machine uses a significant amount of diesel fuel, and we've seen a significant corresponding increase in the price. The price has been pretty steady. So it's again, it just works out to about an $8,000 impact. Sorry, probably about 6 really over the 5-year average. That I believe we can absorb by postponing some landfill site maintenance. We have an amount in there that we use for when we bring in a dozer, or if we bring in an excavator or something of that nature, or a rock truck to build berms or do any major alterations. And we're sitting in pretty good shape right here. Our trench is in good shape, and I don't think we'll need that external equipment this year, or we can postpone it. So I'm not anticipating to see any need for reserve funds, but if the fuel cost trend continues, we'll be addressing that in next year's budget process. Thought I'd let you a little update on the site operations reports. Madawaska was submitted and accepted by the MECP. We haven't seen any comments back from them yet. We're not anticipating any. And just some things to note, that our attendance is increasing in both sites, but it is kind of slowed. It was increasing very quickly at the Erie site year over year. And last year it only increased by 1%, but we are seeing still some pretty large numbers increasing in Madawaska, getting about 8% territory there. So just what that transports into at the Erie site is about just under 6,000 visitors a year. On busy days, it can be 120 or higher during the summer months. So we're starting to get, we'll touch on in the waste management meeting, but becoming quite a busy site for one attendant at times. And if we make some operational changes, there may be some staffing we may need to revisit there. One sort of new issue, moving into recreation and cultural services, is I've been in contact with the MNRF about the finishing off of the work at the Cleary Lake Dam. So the contractor went into receivership last year, and there's a receiver that has been working with the MNRF, and they're getting near their final stages. So I had been after them about a schedule when they're going to finish the remedial work. And what they've asked me for is to quantify it, which I am just putting together. And that includes where they use the lay down area in the park below the washrooms, and the ramp and the erosion that occurred, that they were going to hot mix pave when you come out of the accessible park. Right now, it is not very accessible coming through there. And the other area that is our property that needs to be addressed is that the shoreline road allowance on the other side. So they've been using that as an access. And basically what I discussed with them is returning it to similar condition they found it, which is grassed. The resident that lives there usually keeps it cut. And there is also a little bit of damage that was done to our asphalt around the catch basins during the emergency repairs when it was flooding. So we can talk about that at the end. If anybody has any comments. Just an update.
I have one, Dave, regarding that dam. Now, I've been wondering, and maybe others have been wondering too, is the sandbags or whatever that's located by the EMS building, is that from this project at the dam? And are they going to be removed, or how long are they going to be there, or did they go or have they been picked up this week?
You're talking about the 2 20-yard dumpsters that were there all winter?
That's correct.
They're gone.
They've been gone for quite a while now.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. They were there so long that I just wondered why they were.
Absolutely, they dumped them there without any permission from us. My assumption, because we were trying to work with them, was it was temporary, as they'd used the yard off and on. And then I discovered they were in receivership and no one was coming to get them. It rained, it snowed, it froze, no one could move them. So they were bought at auction, and the person that bought them, once they melted, came up and got them, took them away on a flatbed and a roll off.
Well, I'm not surprised the guy went into receivership the way he parked that excavator there for a whole year.
Yeah. So anyway, that I would like, somebody, I guess we can visit at the end, or, if anyone has any comments on remedial work that they think is required, beyond what I suggest, I can circulate that email before I send it to the MNRF, just to make sure I haven't missed anything that someone else might have noticed in terms of restoring the town before everybody leaves site, kind of for good. The M&L pump house that serves the domestic water feed for the community center and the rink, and also the fills for the fire department to fill their truck. It's installed and been functioning. We're still waiting for one part to be installed, which is a redundant off should the system overfill. Let's move on to drainage and road improvements update. The work on North Allen Lake Road has resumed. Started yesterday on the log removal, and it's going full speed today with 2 trucks. They're still telling me that they're optimistic they will get it all out by Friday. I anticipate it will probably be into mid next week before all the trees are gone. And we'll be coming in behind them as soon as possible to tidy up and get some other much needed work done on that road. The Erie Trestle project has been moving quite well. They got started on time. I've been down a number of times. The workmanship is exceptional, straight, square, quite a good crew on that, experienced crew, and they're anticipating to be done as early as this week. So invite council, once they're cleaning up there, may want to go down and have a look and see how that's going. I think it's going to be a great improvement. And no surprises cost-wise. Everything is within contract amounts. And I'd like to let everybody know that we have had a subcontractor in that lined the culvert at the causeway on McCrae Lake Road. They slid in a polyethylene liner and grouted it. That culvert was actually in even a more advanced state of deterioration than we had anticipated. It took quite a bit of grout to fill it because there was cavities and tears in it. But the stream is flowing through it, and anyway, nice to have that behind us, and we plan on beginning the other culvert replacement work as soon as possible, probably right after the long weekend. We'll be getting back in there and changing the rest of the pipes. There's about 6 of them that be done as part of the project this year. And the hot mix paving tender will be closing tomorrow. So find out what the results of that are, and you'll be hearing about them. The Gallery Lake Park construction of the privy, we're just trying to finalize some plans. Mike has updated the drawings for us, and we're looking for subs to do the block work. The tank is produced. We've done the locates for the underground utilities. They're clear, and what our plan will be is, I believe we can put that tank in between the 2 existing privies, and then at worst probably demolish one, keep one open, while the new one's being constructed. So we hope to update you on a start date in the coming weeks. And I have one additional item that I would just like to make everyone aware of, that I didn't get on the report, and that is a little update on the design for Hay Creek Road as it with respect to the intersection of Ottawa Street. So in some of my communications with the design engineer, they have pointed out that the intersection is within an MTO permit area, and just had a suggestion that if we were not going to go ahead with curb and sidewalk and creating of an island, as we had discussed previously, that perhaps we may want to consider just starting the paving just outside of the MTO permit area, which would be somewhere around the fence from the post office. That would, if we're not changing it anyway, then the issues that if LCBO has concerns or post office has concerns, then it really falls within the umbrella of the MTO to improve that intersection or address those concerns. So that's just something we can have a little talk about, perhaps the wisdom of looking at staying back from that intersection and going ahead with the reconstruction, from there on. So, that's what I have to say about that. And if we wanted to go through and talk about anything.
Anybody have any questions or comments? I see Mayor Dumas' hand up.
Yes, thank you, Dave. Thanks for your report. Just a question in regards to, excuse me, Gallery Lake Dam. We're talking about the side on Highway 60. What's going to happen on the side that comes off of, the street by the grocery store, et cetera? I've never been down that side of the project, and that was access, I think, through a road allowance down to that section of the dam. What's going to happen over there, Dave? Do you know?
Yeah, that is definitely our shoreline road allowance. So my intention was to include under the remedial work that it is restored to a similar condition that they found it, basically grassed, so that it can be maintained. The owner did, in the adjacent property, did keep the grass cut, and I don't think there'll be any need for a road down there for some time. So I think that I would just include that we would like it restored to similar to what they found existing.
Okay, thank you very much. That's everything. Thank you, Chair.
Anybody else have any questions in regard to the operations update?
I have just one question, and I hate to do this to you, Dave, but maybe you have a ballpark figure. You said that the shredding has increased by, I think you said 28% costings. Can you equate that into dollars for me so I know what sort of numbers that we've had an increase with?
It's about a $6,000 impact on our budgetary allowance.
About 6,000. Okay, thank you. That's all.
Anybody else?
Councillor Bongo here. I just have a quick question. Despite the increase in the shredding costs, Dave, do you still see it as a valuable way of investing our money? Because as I understand it, prolongs the life of the disposal site. Is that correct?
Absolutely. They're reducing the bulk of that by about 70%. Prior to doing that shredding operation, that bulky material would get landfilled and it would create voids, which made a lot of things happen. You can't compact above it properly, and it also gives pathways for contaminants to travel. The other added bonus is we can then use that shredded material for cover. So it is blended with our earth, and it's been a very worthwhile expense for extending the life of our landfill sites.
Super. No, that sounds good.
Dave, I noticed
Chair?
I noticed the shredder was parked at Madawaska a week ago. Are they shredding down there right now? Or?
They're shredding, and they experience a lot of breakdowns.
Oh.
So that pretty rough work on that machine, and they seem to break big parts.
Councillor Shaw, I think you wanted to get in there?
Yeah, yes, I just have one comment. Dave, great job on doing all the sweeping. I'm just wondering if the tractor is going to be up, or possibly you could, I think I've seen MTO or the contractor for MTO do some work around the community. I'm just, there's such a good job around the cenotaph, but with the washout on the weekend, and put all the soil across the Highway 60, and a lot of it ended up over in on the paved surface out there in front of the cenotaph, and where people are sitting and picnic tables, etc. I'm just wondering, there'll likely be a lot of dust from that blowing around, and if we could will someone have an opportunity, or could you get maybe the contractor to sweep that area? I know it came likely from township property and township residents, etc. But regardless of who is responsible for the soil, if it could get swept up, it would certainly likely make it more pleasant around there, especially with a long weekend coming.
Yeah, I will see if the weather allows it. We're supposed to get quite a bit of rain tomorrow, so we'll see what we can get done. They're out cutting grass like crazy because not looking very dry between here and Saturday.
Maybe
Okay.
even the fire department could, if they have a training, would wash it off with their hoses.
We might be able to, well, they're talking torrential downpour tomorrow, but we might be able to bring our water tanker up and flood it down if it looks like it'll work.
I don't know. I just thought it would make it maybe more comfortable there for all the people that mill around on the long weekends, and that's what we want people to do, is use the area.
We'll see what I can do.
Thanks.
Okay, if we can move on then to the official plan review and update. And again, there's a staff report concerning that.
See?
I'm coming just a second. I couldn't unmute there for a minute. Yeah, so there's actually two in regards to, they kind of go hand in hand, the recreational vehicle and travel licensing agreement. There's also an OP amendment as with in there as well, but I'll speak to this first and then we can go back and forth if we need to. So recommendation is that council authorize staff to proceed with official plan review per the proposal submitted from JP2G. To ensure that we're in compliance with the provincial policy statement, we're required to conduct official plan update and review. JP2G, like I said, has provided the attached report, and if council has any questions on the report, I'm happy to take any questions or comments back. There's also there's a planning reserve of 30,500, and it's been allocated to the planning department reserve, which could be utilized to start the project in 2020, and then the remaining funds for the project will have to be budgeted in 2023. It's also important to note that for the Planning Act, we're required after the finalization of the official plan that we do also a zoning bylaw amendment. So there will be more expense coming down the line to finish that up in the coming years. So the financial impact is that we would have to utilize the funds for 2020. It's 25,000, just over for 2022, and then about 23,600 for 2023 budget to finish the official plan review. And I don't know if anybody has any questions at this time in regards to this report.
Do we tender for this JP2G, or did we just select them? Or I know it's a change from the previous consultant, and I'm just wondering how we selected them.
Well, currently there are consultants now that do our planning for us. They've provided the proposal, and I believe, Brian, you may be able to speak to this, but it's under the threshold of for procurement for the year. Brian, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Generally, what you try to do, I mean, these official plans and our comprehensive zoning bylaw, it's very important to get consistency in the application. So generally what you try to do is the person that you're going to be using for the purposes of interpreting that plan going forward is generally the one you go and ask to try and create the plan in consultation with the council and the community at large. This is the very beginning of a number of planning documents that are going to need to be undertaken. And rather than deferring it, which we staff had originally planned to do into the post the next election, we felt this might give us a running start for the next council. so that by early in the next, the first term of office, the next council can be working on some of these supplemental planning requirements that we'll have, whether that's comprehensive zoning reviews, or whether that's strategic planning updating, or whether that's coming up with sub-plans like economic development plans or otherwise. I think that's why we've decided we should bring this forward now. But certainly we can go, absolutely. If council wants us to go out and tender for this document. But I always am cautious when we go out with those things, that sometimes the lowest price, you don't always get the best quality. And we may get somebody that's not as, they may end up being the lowest price anyway. But I think that we're trying to build a long-term relationship as it relates to our planning, and to give stability for not only for staff, but for the residents in the application and the interpretation of the legislation. So I mean, I'll defer to council's decision, but certainly I continue to maintain that I think having worked off and on with it for over 20 years with JP2G, that they're certainly more than competent and capable to undertake this review for us. And in my experience has been that it's always been at a reasonable cost.
I fully agree that we should update, and as a matter of fact, I was in support. I believe we discussed this a little over a year ago, whether we were going to do this within this council's term, and I think it was agreed that we wouldn't. But I was in favor of it at that time. I'm still in favor of it, because I read these documents quite often, and I look at what we're trying to do in our township. And anyway, I look forward to moving forward.
And this isn't as we all know, this isn't a process that happens overnight. It's going to have to get approval from MMAH, and that takes some time. There's going to be, possibly some back and forth again before final. So the timeline that they have in there is, I think should work if we can work consistently on it. But let's hope that it gets passed by MMAH with no issues.
Tracy, one of the biggest changes in today's world is the granny flats, and there's all different kinds of definitions of how you can accommodate them on a single building lot. Is that part of the official plan, or will that be in the comprehensive zoning bylaw?
Yeah, so the official plan will have to review all that. The provincial policy statement, that's where we're lacking, I feel, is in our official plan. We don't have that accessory dwellings and all that kind of stuff and granny flats in there as well as we should have. So that's going to bring everything into conformity. And that's it. We need to, it's happening, and it's happening all over, and we need to get ahead of it. So I think starting the process now, I think is a good thing. And their council's going to have an opportunity to express their concerns and what they recommend. And I feel like that is an important part of this official plan amendment for sure.
Yeah, I see it as one of the most important changes that we need to at least take into consideration. Whether we do anything about it or not is another matter.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there will be public input also into this in the end?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a requirement.
Thanks.
It's Councillor Bongo here. I just have a quick question. So this council will simply approve the beginning, the initiation of this OP review and ZBL review, and it's the next council that will be more involved with it. And also, what is the timeline for public engagement? Towards the end of this year or beginning of 2023? Just curious a little bit more about the timeline.
So the zoning bylaw won't start, the full amendment, the big amendment won't start until this is finalized. So I don't propose anything happening to probably 2024 for the zoning bylaw amendment. I believe per the submission, it had a timeline of public consult. I just don't have it at the tip of my finger. But it is
Tracy.
okay. Phase 1. Conduct. Yeah, so it'll be in the first phase, conduct interview with key information software agencies, a special meeting, number 6. Assuming this project starts by September 2022. So it's proposed to, the proposal is to have that prior to September 2022.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I
Yeah.
believe in phase 2, there's also one as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm. Super. No, that sounds very positive.
Oh,
Sounds
maybe
like there's
not.
a lot of provisions to make sure that it's an involved process with staff, with council, with the residents. I'm sure that everybody's looking forward to this. And as Councillor Florent mentioned as well, the time really is now to review this. And I think it's really healthy and good governance for us to go through with this review.
Does anybody else have any comments? The next item is the recreation and trailer licensing. It kind of goes hand in hand with this as well.
Yeah.
Tracy?
Yes, it
hand it over.
does. So we're recommending that council consider the implementation of the travel trailer license agreement during the official plan review that we've proposed in the previous report. And then until such time, just direct staff to investigate or enforce non-compliant properties on a complaint basis. I think that if we do it now, it's, it wouldn't be much sense to do it now. It's going to take some time anyway. We could probably start the official plan process as we go further. And then we can revisit the travel licensing bylaw at that time.
Yeah.
I think currently we all know that trailers are popping up everywhere and are being used for human habitation and that they're not permitted in most of the zones. However, being that we only have the part-time bylaw enforcement officer, I believe that we do it on a complaint basis, and property owners who have concerns can, submit it in writing to township staff. And then at that time we would investigate and follow up on that.
I think one of the other reasons we're recommending that this be taken as a bigger part of the official plan and zoning amendment update is that every amendment to an official plan or a comprehensive zoning bylaw can be appealed to the OLT, and then there's costs associated with that. So by incorporating it into the larger plan, if there is any appeal with respect to this, there's not going to be, 4 or 5 different appeals to the OLT. It may be handled as part of an overall comprehensive official plan or zoning bylaw amendment that would be an appeal again. So it would be one appearance versus having a couple of appearances. And anybody that's been involved in those knows that they get expensive very quickly when you bring the lawyers and the planners from the 2 sides in, and the honorable member can take up to a week sometimes to have a hearing. So I think that's another reason why, although the amendment's only $2,500 to $3,000, it's really not a significant dollars and couldn't be absorbed in the current year budget. We felt it better just to absorb it into the bigger picture and recommend that it be undertaken at a future time, especially if we're going to consider moving forward with the official plan review at this time.
So although it says on the agenda here that there's a draft amendment bylaw, we don't anticipate bringing that to council.
No, that was put in there because it was done and it was requested from council at a past meeting. So we brought it forward. That can be the wording can be put into the new zoning bylaw amendment and the official plan from the trailer licensing if council chooses to go down that road with that, and that can be discussed when we do the official plan amendment.
From a staff perspective, I think our intent was that if council didn't wish to undertake the official plan review, that they had the option that they could also undertake this. So it was either or. And it just made it a little cleaner, I think, than coming back and not having the second option if council chose not to do the official plan review.
That's correct.
That explains it well enough for me. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
I just have
Okay.
a quick,
Go ahead.
sorry, sorry if I may, just a quick comment from me. And that, yeah, we were discussing trailers, and in my mind, I was really thinking that doing some kind of public engagement about the issue of trailers before doing any bylaws or licensing or anything like that would be key. And I think this is definitely the right move to lump in this trailer discussion in with the official plan and zoning bylaw review, because A, there's going to be public discussion built into that process, and B, I think adapting our official plan and our bylaws to match with what's going on and with what residents want and what will work best for a community, to have that all part of that OP process, I think is really, really smart. So thank you, staff, for bringing this report forward.
So
Okay,
I'm
if
under,
nobody- Go
sorry.
ahead, Tracy.
So I am to, I just want to confirm that we're going with the recommendations as per the 2 reports,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
So I just want to get this clear too, in case I have some concerns from residents. We're basically not going to do anything with these trailers. And we're going to include it all later in the official plan, all the rules and regulations around it. And unless somebody has a written complaint and they forward that to the township, is that correct?
That's my interpretation.
Okay, okay, thanks.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll provide that.
By Councillor Bongo, seconded by Mayor Dumas. And I would recommend a 5-minute recess before we start the waste management meeting.
I would agree.
Yep.
And here to Richard to come back for the next meeting.
Yeah, where's the agenda for the next meeting? Ooh. Well, shouldn't take too long.
Having a break?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're started the waste management meeting.
Oh my God,
Oh.
I just had a
Who?
talking to her, a happy anniversary.
Who?
Lynn,
Oh, yeah.
she's not coming,
No.
going to come after we get in the house. But she's so, she can hardly talk, she thought she had COVID.
Richard, you need to go on mute.
We do that. Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Thanks, Tracy. I guess everyone's back but the mayor.
Just open up with a shovel and then go down and put more cover on that. A sandbag or something laying on top of it.
Is everyone back? Okay, I'll call the Waste Management Committee meeting to order. Are there, we have the agenda before us. Is there any additions or amendments to the agenda?
Richard,
Yes,
it's Jean. I apologize, but I have an appointment and I have to leave about 12:15. So just so you know, I'll just sign out at that time.
okay, now, could I ask, I'm not aware of what we're going to discuss here at number 7. We could do that first if you'd prefer that. If that, Brian, what
Okay.
do you think about that?
I think that if Jane can be present for that, that would be very beneficial to everyone, that everyone be involved and have the opportunity to understand where things are at.
Okay, well, I have, in addition to the agenda, I'd like to discuss winter waste collection in Dickens Ward. So we'll just add that to the agenda under number 6. And, okay, so does anyone else have a pecuniary interest to disclose? Or maybe I can get someone to adopt the agenda then as amended?
I'll move it.
Moved by,
Rodnick.
moved by Councillor Rodnick, seconded by,
Councillor Florent,
okay, thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes, okay, does
Yep.
anyone have pecuniary interest to disclose? None noted. There's no delegations, and we're going to, for the public, we're going to move into, to ensure all council members can be present here. We're going to move into a closed session. And closed session 239 Subsection B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. D, labor relations or employee negotiations. So we'll be going into a closed session.
I'll propose that.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Collins,
I'll second it.
seconded by